New exciting Bethesda rumors. Is something good about to happen? No, of course not. Are you joking? Todd Howard is a complete clueless loser, and Emil Paglarino is probably not even human, honestly. There's not a single person left with even a shred of talent at Bethesda. The only talent they have, because they actually do have some talent, that's called suspense, is being shit and ruining everything. Their current best game is Fallout 76. Most people don't even consider that a real game. This is a joke.
Today we are gathering to talk about a bunch of Bethesda rumors. This is everything from Starfield on Switch 2, which I am really curious to see how that bad boy runs.
Didn't sell any copies on Xbox, completely failed and died in literally 2 months. PlayStation doesn't even want it, and now you're putting it on Switch? How about we just delete Starfield?
On the Switch 2, all the way to a brand new writer, formerly of BioWare, but also Sucker Punch, also Telltale, joining Bethesda Game Studios, and that has a bit of the community in a twist, as we'll get into. Also, is Macaulay
Is it the dude who made Dragon Age Velgod? Is Bethesda...
Culkin's character going to be someone from the Legion? We'll break that down, and the way it was spotted is absolutely hilarious, and we'll round things out with just how many episodes we're getting in.
I cannot honestly wait until the Fallout TV show drops. It's gonna be the most humiliating thing Bethesda has seen in years. I can't wait.
Fallout Season 2. So there's a lot of little bits of news and rumors popping up for Bethesda. Wanted to round it all up, talk about it today. If you're new here, you're into what's going on with Bethesda, role-playing, Fallout, grabbing like video games. Put my hands together, like, oh, I can't wait to see how this one goes. And that's Starfield to Switch 2. So yesterday, during Gamescom opening night live, we got the reveal that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is headed to Switch 2 in 2026. And it's looking like 2026.
No one bought this game. Indiana Jones probably didn't even sell 200,000 copies. Probably did not even sell that many copies. Insanity.
This will be the catch-up year for Xbox and others to getting their games onto Switch 2. I think that'll be a big third-party year for Nintendo fans. You know, there was conversations behind the scenes suggesting that Xbox and some others were deliberately kept out when it came to getting their hands on dev kits before the release of the Switch 2. So some of the games that we were expecting to see in the release here, at the very least, of the Switch 2 did not come to fruition. But Nate the Hate, who has been responsible for just a lot of leaks across the industry,
industry planned, probably.
Recently, we talked a lot about his leaks for Oblivion Remastered, all of which ended up being true, and he's been on top of the Fallout 3 remaster, and he also was on top of the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal event. Like, this guy has been absolute money, has posted on his Twitter account saying that Indiana Jones is not going to be the only Bethesda game coming to Switch. It is also going to be...
Dude, they're trying to push Starfield on everything they have, and no one wants it. There's not a single person playing PS5 and thinking like, oh boy, I can't wait for Starfield. No.
Starfield. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because the Switch 2 has proven to be pretty capable. So far, I haven't had any of those, as we call them, stinky Switch moments with my Switch 2. I've been really enjoying the early days of my Switch 2. However, this will be a test in a couple of ways. Visually, I gotta be honest with Starfield, right? Like, I do like the game. I don't love it. But if there's something that really did catch me off guard with this game, it's that pre-launch and into Starfield.
You just saying that you like Starfield is a major red flag, because that means that you like shit. You enjoy blatant trash.
Launch, I went, okay, this looks pretty solid, especially for like Bethesda standards with graphics. Like, they've never tried to push that. They've always tried to push scale.
Looks solid? Are you kidding me? They literally needed multiple patches to make it so the NPCs don't look like this constantly. You're kidding, right?
Over fidelity, and I think this kind of combines the two a bit. All right, not too bad. But when I went back to it at the top of 2024, just like a few months after release and playing a bunch of other games, going back to Starfield, I went, wow, this looks like it's aged really quickly. Like, that's the best way I can put it. So when you're putting a game on Switch 2, there's already going to be that downgrade in like texture quality and frame rate. And Starfield was in the area of having a decent 30 FPS compared to other 30 frame games at that time, where I didn't really hate playing it on my Series X. But is that going to be the case for the Switch 2? And most importantly, unless there are any changes arriving with quality of life updates or expansion 2 with Starfield next year, is this going to have a ton of loading screens? And how long will they be on a Switch 2? At least with even the Series X, like, they are plentiful, but they also go by pretty quickly. But it does appear that Bethesda is going like all in.
By the way, yes, you saw it right there. Okay, listen, look,
a Switch
a loading
2,
screen
at least with
into this is when you load in,
even
and
the Series
3 seconds later,
X, like, they are plentiful, but they also go by pretty quickly. But it does appear that
another loading screen. Do you like that gameplay? I do.
Bethesda is going like all in on this next Starfield wave, where this is the time to make it count. I imagine there's going to be a lot of quality of life updates. I imagine this is where expansion 2 is going to.
This is so bullshit. There's barely there's literally barely any people left working on Starfield, as much as anyone can tell from Bethesda. They have pretty much completely even abandoned the idea that they want to make the next expansion. Because keep in mind, when Shattered Space came out, 4.5% of people decided to play it in return. That is horrendous statistics. This was the player graph when it started. This is when it, after a couple of months. And this was the blimp. This was the small blimp. If you don't know it's there, you would probably miss it. If you don't know where to look, you would probably miss it. No one cares about Starfield. No one wants this.
Arrive. I don't know if you're getting your Switch 2 SKU at the same time as your PS5 SKU. I think that would be very ideal, but my prediction, just based on how things usually go, is like PS5 will get it first, and then like later in 26, you'll get it on Switch 2. I could be wrong about that. Bethesda, again, has been very quiet since Shattered Space when it comes to Starfield, so we'll see what the plan actually ends up being, but this is a good time to swing hard with Starfield because it'll be available everywhere from PC to console. And if this expansion and the quality of life updates hit, it'll be available for everybody, and maybe that could start, in this very ideal world, a resurgence for Starfield. I mean, at least that kind of sets the table for the possibility. Bethesda has to over-deliver to make that the case and to target key issues, as I've already said before, with Starfield. So we'll see, but anyway, Starfield coming to Switch 2.
The most boring and stupid vet system ever.
Next year, that'll be interesting to see how that looks, how that runs. Next up, this was a big one and it was making headlines. A new writer from Sucker Punch is joining Bethesda, and this is likely in a major way given his prior position, so it does hold additional weight compared to other writers joining Bethesda Game Studios. John Dombrow is joining Bethesda Game Studios as a...
Oh my god, let's see this. So, BioWare. Co-lead writer 2015, Mass Effect Andromeda. Oh boy. Mass Effect Andromeda is even more ass than you would remember. Every single thing about the Mass Effect Andromeda story is bad. If you think 3 different color endings are bad in Mass Effect 3, then Andromeda's whole story is literally the equivalent of maybe 2 colored endings. It's bad. Senior narrative writer, Anthem. Ain't no way, this person is complete garbage. Senior narrative designer / writer, Dragon Age, The Veilguard. Senior writer, narrative designer, Veilguard, Devrin, writer of the Davrin story arc, including all missions and related character relationships, romance scenes, and Asan. And Asan? Who is Asan? Who is Davrin? Is that the... Davrin. Is that the Griffin guy? Yeah, it is the Griffin guy. With 0 personality. Yay! That's impressive. At least this wasn't the worst character in Dragon Age Veilguard. Yeah, it's the Black Elf. Okay, amazing. Amazing, John. What else do we have here? Senior writer Sucker Punch full-time Ghost of Yote. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, this is Bethesda level. This is Bethesda quality. This is literally something Bethesda would be excited about. A complete skillless loon. Insane. Yeah, this definitely fits in Bethesda. Yeah, I mean Bethesda's fucked.
A senior quest designer. Previously, he did work on Ghost of Yote in a full-time capacity for the last 2 years, but you might be first hearing how I'm laying this out and going, oh wait, I thought I heard about a different writer joining Bethesda. I've seen a lot of the framing calling this guy a BioWare writer, and in a sense it's true. Like, most of his work is done on BioWare games, and he was there for both, we'll just say, the good and the bad parts of BioWare, as I'll break down in deeper detail soon. But I feel this was obviously done to fuel headlines because this guy dipped on BioWare in August of 2023, like well before the shitstorm, and the project was still a disaster at that point in time. And then he spent 2 years writing full-time.
Hey, don't you dare put disaster and my favorite cum dumpster wife Bellara there, okay? She maybe is blatantly autistic, but my god, those hips were made for one thing.
And the project was still a disaster at that point in time, and then he spent 2 years writing full-time on Yote.
The most accurate depiction of a woman in ever.
So that's how I registered the news, but again, we'll get into why this became a sizzly headline and people use the BioWare angle pretty hard. Let's start off with breaking it down like this, right? No single writer can fix an entire video game. Even the best writers, like my favorite writer in gaming is Avalon. Chris Avalon, I think, is phenomenal, but even he could not individually fix a game if the writing hierarchy is broken. Like, you'll feel it no matter who is on board. A great example of this is when Drew Karpyshyn rejoined BioWare to help write Anthem, and he was their lead writer. Drew Karpyshyn was responsible for games like the Mass Effect trilogy. He was responsible for writing Knights of the Old Republic, which is my favorite game of all time. You had every reason to have every...
Oh, by the way, if that writer actually came in and said, oh, I worked at Star Wars The Old Republic, I would still call them shit, because the reality is, like, Obsidian. Look at Obsidian. They made Fallout New Vegas, but they never did anything worthwhile or even remotely interesting ever again. They made Outer Wilds, which was shit in the large scheme of things. I mean, if someone has like one good writing credential on them, I mean, that might as well be luck.
Ounce of confidence that this guy returning to BioWare meant good news for Anthem. And we know how Anthem went as that example. It was really bad from top to bottom. When the system is broken, it absolutely doesn't matter who is on the team. And it also means that if parts around the game are broken or still in progress, you write in circles. A great example of this is Avowed. As that project went in circles, the writing quality was significantly
Oh god, look at this abomination, Jesus.
lower from what Obsidian had set for themselves as a standard with prior games, even recently with Outer Worlds DLC and Pentiment. This also works the opposite way too. Like, no single writer is going to break a game if the system is good. And
oh yes, they will. Oh yes, they will. It only takes one person to make everything bad.
And honestly, they stand a better chance at improving if those rules are very clear. The problem is that, to many, Bethesda's writing quality is incredibly spotty, and many are vocal about it being just plain terrible. Like, for every Nick Valentine or UC Vanguard questline, they feel more like anomalies rather than the consistent
Bro, the UC Vanguard questlines were ass. What do you fucking mean?
writing standard that's been set across an entire experience. Like, people don't talk about the breadth of Oblivion writing even. They talk about the Dark Brotherhood questline specifically. Like, that's Bethesda writing in a nutshell. There are these pockets of gold that you'll find, but I think other parts of it aren't as bad as people say they are, but they're definitely not like
yes,
CD
they
Projekt
are.
Red Cyberpunk 2077 level, where, like, I think across the entire game, it's just keeps hitting. So what I'm saying is that, simply put, Bethesda's writing in Quest Division doesn't inspire an entire world of confidence, especially after an exit like Will Shen's, where it's tough to imagine someone with good writing chops coming in from a bad system, namely BioWare's Veilguard in this case, as we'll get into in a moment, and finding themselves once more within Bethesda's process. Breaking down the portfolio more will either give you confidence or despair depending on what angle you look at it from, and that's why, again, the framing of the headline was really everything with this story, because it's a non-story if we're talking about Sucker Punch. People are like, okay, Sucker Punch is great, sure. But when you say BioWare, it's like, boo, 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 alarm bells. Okay, so let's look at the good part. There were 2 tenures at BioWare for John. There was tenure 1, where he was responsible for things like the Overlord DLC and Priority Tachanka in Mass Effect 3. That does inspire confidence. He states on his LinkedIn that he was responsible for Priority Thessia as well as Priority Surkesh 2, where he'd be responsible for all characters within all of these missions on top of Mass Effect 3's major critical path missions. And he also claimed to be the solo writer for Overlord, which I found pretty unique from my point of view. I look at that and go, hell yeah, like this is all good shit. Then you want to inspire a little bit more confidence. This guy was a senior writer on BioShock Infinite's Burial at Sea DLC, which to me is the best DLC of all time. It is one of the greatest stories that creates a perfect loop that started all those years ago and finishes here. To be part of that magic, again, that's a great writing process. It shows right there. Meanwhile, there was tenure 2 at BioWare. He joins with Mass Effect Andromeda, which was a game famously made in 18 months, and he spent 2 years on that as the co-lead writer. And yeah, like, it's not fantastic. I don't think it's the worst game out of this.
It's not fantastic? I mean, it is by far one of the worst games ever made. Not a single point of Listen, I can talk about this because I just watched a week ago, like a Salt Factory video about Mass Effect Andromeda. It is worse than you remember, okay? Mass Effect Andromeda is unironically worse than you remember. It's not better. It's worse than you remember.
Stretch of BioWare, in a lot of ways, it kind of benefits from the release of Anthem. It kind of benefits from the release of Veilguard, where, hey, Andromeda wasn't that bad. It's like how I ranked it before, you know, like a C-tier game after Veilguard, but, you know, that's not really saying too much here. But he was also responsible for, in Veilguard, Davrin's character arc. He was responsible for the Siege of Weishaupt and the initial Veiljumper content. And I saw many argue that this is some of Veilguard's best content, some of the best writing it has to offer. I hate to be that guy, but I firmly disagree, man. Like, look, outside of Emmerich as a character and some of the unique secret conversations you could have with Mathal, that you could have with Morrigan, I really think Veilguard's writing across the board is bad. And to my point, the system was bad. The quality bar was acceptable.
Oh, shut up, Maddie. Okay, if you don't know, Mr. Maddie is one of the big shills on YouTube. He's right there with people like Luke Steffens, Extra Life, Shill Up, and, well, many more, honestly. But he's Maddie's one of the big ones. I remember exactly what you said in your review of Dragon Age. Well, God, Maddie, do I need to repeat myself? Let me contextualize it. This is Maddie's review of Dragon Age Railguard. It's a short story, but you don't want a long story anyway, so it's good. The writing is atrocious, but it's not that bad anyway. The game costs too much, but it's fine to overpay a little bit. Everything was bad, but it somehow was good. That's how shilling works. And now, it's like Luke Steffens after he didn't get early access. I think, yeah, it was Dragon Age Veilguard also. Luke Steffens did not get early access for Veilguard, and he actually shit on that game because he didn't get an early access to it. It was hilarious. That was the only time he ever called a game that he had early access to bad. Oh, these people, man. And now he's proudly saying, oh, Dragon Age Veilguard wasn't actually that good.
Exceptionally low, and everything got through. He was also part of Anthem. So you can look at both these tenures at BioWare, and I've seen people go, uh-oh, tenure 2 at BioWare, not too good. But then you look at tenure 1, and you look at BioShock, and it's like, yeah, to my point, as I said earlier, when you're part of a good system, which I know, by the way, everything I'm saying here is probably not what people want to hear. They want to be mad. They want to be angry immediately. But to me, I look at it as like, see my example here. When he's in a good system, he's part of really good shit. When he's in a bad system,
What if he's just someone who is good at following orders but not actually making decisions? Those people exist.
yeah, you look at the portfolio and wince a little bit and go, ugh. To me, it's a mixed bag. And ultimately, I'm hoping that he can bring the positive part of his skill set into Elder Scrolls 6, but that's only possible if Bethesda's writing system
Elder Scrolls 6? When the hell did we start talking about Elder Scrolls 6?
is improved, that the quality goes up, and also the systems within the game's design enables him to do the cool things like he did, for example, with Mass Effect 3's priority to Chonka and the amount of choice and consequence and reaction and emotionality packed into it. Anyway, his most recent writing tenure was with Sucker Punch and Ghost of Yotei, so if you want to assess that, if you want to...
This is probably the biggest red flag, because we know that Ghost of Yotei is the most woke thing in a long, long time.
Size that up at all, that'll be a good measuring stick for you in just a couple of months now to see how things stack up there. I thought Ghost of Tsushima was awesome, especially in the story department, so if it's going to be more...
Well, no one's questioning Ghost of Tsushima. Everyone's just questioning Ghost of Yotei.
like that, I feel like we're in for some good writing there with Yotei, but hey, famous last words, we will see. But I have confidence in Sucker Punch and their system. Let's move on to the Fallout TV show. We got the Season 2 trailer yesterday. I did a full reaction / mini breakdown video of that, and oh man,
I can't wait until this all falls apart. Bethesda is going to be imploding on steroids when this TV show hits. Because again, Bethesda is banking a lot. They're banking effectively on another Season 1 Fallout TV show effect here. They are banking at that, and they're doing it hard. And it's not happening, needless to say. They're not going to get lightning in the bottle, okay? The first episodes in the Fallout TV show probably were the most decent ones after it completely fucking breaks down, because the writers are just... Season 2 is going to be complete trash, because if it loses stories over the goals, now you have other garbage that you need to attend to. Bethesda is banking incredibly on the fact that the TV show is going to push people again at the same levels, probably even higher, honestly, into Fallout 4, into Fallout 4 is getting the paid mod shop, into that, Fallout 76, and everything else. They are banking hard on this. And it's not happening. There is no way. The tourists are gone.
So excited. Now, we learned yesterday this will be a weekly release. This is different from Season 1 where we got all the episodes at once. What we learned...
Oh, a weekly... Okay, but again, this just means that they're confident. You drop everything at once when you're not confident about your show. Because you don't want people to remember it that long. You drop it weekly, or bi-weekly, or whatever type of way, if you think that if you want people to talk about it for a long time. And this is that situation. Now people are going to talk about the Fallout TV show for a long time. I'm probably going to do... I could actually do this time. I did it for Star Wars... What was the OSHA May thing called? I literally did I literally did a every episode breakdown, and I talked about them, how stupid they were. I may do this for Fallout Season 2, because again, I don't have any belief in it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about this. That was Mr. Manny Plays, 10 out of 10. Bye!